Hey there, girlies. So, this is the second episode of Parvin Talks Hair for the Naturalistas. And I already talked about developing a hair scheme, and I want to now talk about how to basically retain length and grow your hair. Sorry for the voice change. I kind of have a cold. Anyways, so as I mentioned before, I hope I didn't edit it out, that everybody's hair grows irrespective of what race you are. It's just very dependent on your genetics. Now, hair growth starts from your scalp. So what I want to talk about today is how is your scalp doing? What type of scalp do you have? So there's mainly three types of scalps. There is oily scalps, normal scalps, not natural scalps, normal scalps, and dry scalps. And the easiest way you can tell what type of scalp you have is if you notice the skin on your face. For example, my skin is normal skin, so my scalp is typically normal scalp. So what do I mean by this? Basically, it's measured by the amount of natural oil, it's called sebum, that is produced on your scalp. So if you have a normal scalp, it means your scalp usually doesn't have many issues, and the sebum that your scalp produces is on a normal amounts. And if you have a dry scalp, it means your scalp is producing very little to basically none sebum on your head. And you can tell this by frequently having flakes, white flakes. They're very small, being very irritated normally. And if you have oily scalp, that means that your scalp is producing too much sebum, and you typically have very like yellowish, thick, greasy patches on your hair, and your hair usually feels heavy and greasy. So yeah, those are the three types of scalps. You just usually look at your skin, and sometimes the body's funny, and your skin over here is not the same type of skin on your scalp. So just also observe your scalp. If it is flaky and white, and also if your scalp always feels dry, that's dry scalp. If you never really have issues, that's normal scalp. And if you have an oily scalp, just notice the yellow flaking, or if your hair always feels greasy. So if you have a normal scalp, of course, your hair journey isn't gonna be as tough as other people's, because you don't really need to put anything on your scalp. You just have to usually make sure that you're washing your hair. I personally usually recommend, when it comes to washing your hair, to wash it usually every 2 weeks. That's like the sweet spot. If you can wash your hair every 2 weeks, that's the sweet spot. But I understand a lot of the girlies be washing their hair every 3 months. That you have to stop that. I don't That's a myth, okay? Your hair doesn't grow more when you let it like be dirty. The reason why is because if you allow your hair to not be washed for a long time, there's gonna be product buildup on your scalp. What that does, it clogs the pores on your scalp and makes it difficult for the hair follicle to penetrate from under the skin to on top of your skin. Okay? And when it does, it starts breaking because of the product buildup. So it is actually very much recommended to wash your hair more frequently, perhaps once every 2 weeks. But I also understand a lot of the babes are having braids, are having really expensive hairstyles, and they don't want to put it to waste in just 2 weeks. I get that. So I think a more realistic approach is to wash your hair once a month, and especially if you have normal scalp, that's okay. Just make sure when you are putting products on your hair, they're not that heavy, especially on your scalp. You should be utilizing light oils for all scalp types. If you're oily, dry, and normal, you should be utilizing light oils such as jojoba oil, argan oil, almond oil, and grapeseed oil. These are all available. You can just find them in normal like pharmacies, supermarkets. That's because they usually mimic the makeup of sebum that is already naturally on our scalp. And honestly, if you have a normal scalp, you don't really even need to be putting it on. If you can avoid it, you can avoid it altogether. Anyways, so now let me specify a bit more. If you have a dry scalp, right? As I said, I recommend everybody to try washing their hair once every 2 weeks. But if you can't, at most just once every month, and that's okay. You should be looking into washing your hair less frequently. For people who have dry scalps. So once a month or once every 2 weeks is still good if you have a dry scalp. But look into the shampoo you're using. Use moisturizing shampoos and not clarifying shampoos, because clarifying shampoos will strip your hair of its natural oils, and that can be way more damaging to dry scalps. So honestly, if you can avoid using clarifying shampoos altogether, just avoid it. I have a moisturizing shampoo that I recommend to anybody, and it's also clean. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, also clean by Auntie Jackie's. I love the shampoo. It's so nice. It's non-stripping, and your hair still feels clean afterwards. So I believe that you can honestly get whatever moisturizing shampoo that you feel works best for you. But if you have a dry scalp, oily scalp, do utilize moisturizing shampoos every time you are washing your hair. Now, if you're an oily scalp girly, using clarifying shampoos here and there, more like if you're washing your hair, let's say every 2 weeks, and you have an oily scalp, you can use a clarifying scalp every once a month. Okay, so the first 2 weeks you use a moisturizing shampoo, and then the other 2 weeks you use a clarifying shampoo. That could benefit you because your hair is prone to product buildup, and clarifying shampoos are meant to take out that product buildup. But also, just be very careful when you're using clarifying shampoos because natural hair, in its essence, prefers moisturization. So if you are so hell bent on like using clarifying shampoos all the time, it could really affect your hair negatively. So yeah, just utilize moisturizing shampoos as much as you can. Um, every 2 weeks. If you can't do every 2 weeks, every once a month, that's okay too. Just invest in a good moisturizing shampoo. Okay. And then when it comes to the scalp, for dry scalp and oily scalp, you do need to put in some oil onto your scalp. Again, light oils. Do not use coconut oil. Coconut oil, yes, it looks liquid for the most part, but it is not a light oil. It clogs your pores. Sorry, it clogs your pores. So do use jojoba oil, okay? Because I know jojoba oil is a bit more accessible in TZ. I've seen grapeseed oil as well and almond. So just go around, ask for those, and apply onto your scalp. So, yeah, that is all that there is for the scalp matter. Now we're going to have to talk about creating a good environment for your hair to retain hydration and moisture because that is literally the core and the essence of natural hair. First, hydration is water. Hydration is water. You have to hydrate your hair. And when I talk about hydration and water, I mean you have to start drinking water, girl. You have to start drinking water, girl. Cause you be drinking sodas, you be drinking juices, you be drinking Don Julio, Hennessy, whiskey. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But you can't drink more than a liter of water per day. There's a problem there. There's a problem there, and we're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that. Okay. Start drinking a bit more water. Increase your water intake. Hydration is key. And I know this sounds cringy, cliche. Everybody says drink water, but it actually helps. It helps with so many things, and it helps with your hair. Drink more water. Outside of drinking water, spray water into your hair. I've seen so many girls. I think a lot of girls still don't know this. Your natural hair absolutely loves water. Spray water onto it, okay? And an extra tip, because I know a lot of people don't know this. Sometimes you could be spraying hard water into your hair, especially if you live in, I don't know about other regions in CG, but Dar es Salaam, the tap water that we use is very hard. It has a lot of minerals. So what I do is in my spray bottle, I put drinking water. Yeah, I put drinking water, and that's the water I use to spray on my hair. It's just better because it doesn't have harsh or heavy minerals that could be weighing down your hair or even dehydrating your hair instead of hydrating it. So sorry. So look out for that. When we're talking about hydration, we're talking about spraying your hair. Okay. And then when it comes to moisture, a lot of the moisture also comes from hair, yeah, also comes from water, yes, but it also comes from products like leave-in conditioners and conditioners usually. So that's where moisture comes in, and we're gonna talk more into that. And oil. Oil is not hydrating or moisturizing. Oil is a moisture sealant. It seals the moisture or the hydration in your hair. That is all that oil does. I don't care what they say on the label. That is all that oil does. So yeah. Also, when we're talking about spray bottles, another common mistake I see a lot of the girls doing is I used to do this too, okay? I'm not innocent of doing this, but mixing oil and your water in the spray bottle. Water and oil doesn't mix, so that's sort of non-effective, as well as the fact that as well as putting conditioners and oil and water in a bottle and like mixing it manually and stuff. I've seen that happen, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that if you only use that water and conditioner just for that day. Sometimes you just want to detangle your hair quickly and whatever, or your conditioner is too heavy. That's fine. But if you use that water and conditioner and you're always putting it on and it's like staying there for days, you just have to know that the mixture is causing bad bacteria to grow that could be making your hair a bit more dry or worse, or doing worse to your hair when you spray it. And this is because there is no preservative in the water and the conditioner mixture you made. So please don't stop doing that. It is harming your hair way more than you know. I see a lot of people do this. And again, like I said, there's nothing wrong if you did it for one day, you use it on that same day and you're done with it. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're putting it for like 2 weeks, over 2 weeks, the water has no preservative. So it is damaging your hair. If you really would like a water-based conditioner or leave-in conditioner, they do sell that in markets and in hair shops or hair mists as well. That's a better alternative rather than sort of putting your hair in harm's way. So when it comes to hydrating, your hydration routine, in my personal opinion, right, it should be liquid, cream, and oil. I know there's people who talk about the lock method, which is liquid, oil, and cream. I personally don't think that makes any sort of sense, personally. But I think you should be doing the liquid, cream, and oil combination. Or if you're not a fan of oil, you can do liquid and cream, because a lot of the leave-in conditioners already contain oils in their mixtures. And if your hair doesn't get dry too quickly, it's fine if you don't add an oil sealant. So now I've talked about the hydration routine. Let's actually talk about how your hair retains moisture. And this is by knowing your hair porosity. So I don't know if you've heard about, if you're watching this and you haven't heard about what is hair porosity. Hair porosity is basically how well your hair retains moisture. Okay, and there's three types of hair porosity. There's low porosity, medium porosity, and high porosity. Medium porosity typically doesn't have issues with retaining moisture into their hair. They retain it quite easily, and it doesn't leave easily. Now, characteristics of low porosity. Let me read this out. I had to literally write it down because, yeah, I'm not trying to forget anything for you girls. Anyways, low porosity has issues with absorbing water into their hair as well as products. So typically the water in the hair and the products just sort of sit on top of your hair, and they don't really penetrate the hair shaft. And when they do penetrate the hair shaft, it's very hard for it to go out of the hair shaft. So this looks like when you wash your hair, it takes forever to dry. That's the easiest way you can notice if you have low porosity hair, is it takes forever to dry, and also sometimes you put so many products in it and it just feels like it's dry. Okay, a simple thing that can help with low porosity hair is when you spray water into your hair, you just sort of massage the water in any type of products. As well as if you're using products and you have low porosity hair, look into using products that are more lightweight. Use lightweight conditioners. There's water-based conditioners which you can just spray in and work the product into your hair shaft, as well as light oils. That works best for low porosity hair because the hair cuticles on your hair shaft are closed shut. So when you use lighter products, it's easier for them to penetrate the hair shaft rather than just sit on top of the hair shaft. So yeah. Something else that people with low porosity hair can benefit in is using heat. For example, steaming. Using steaming can really help people with low porosity because it opens up the cuticles so that the products can seep in more into the hair shaft, as well as deep conditioning more. Let's say you should typically be deep conditioning like once every 2 weeks or once a month, and use steaming to deep condition, or heat to deep condition your hair, because low porosity does have an issue with retaining moisture, and it's very resistant to moisture. So when you use deep conditioning, it like deeply moisturizes your hair. So when you have low porosity, you should really look into using deep conditioners more. And you should most likely avoid protein treatments if you can. If you really need it, please do go ahead, put it on, but avoid protein treatments and products that have protein in it. Please look into the ingredients, because your hair is more prone to protein overload, because already the cuticle is a very close shut, so the protein sort of just sits on top and just weighs your hair down, making it look limpy and weak. So if you have low porosity hair, use lightweight products, work it into your hair shafts, use heat, deep condition. That's mostly what you're meant to be doing if you have low porosity hair. If you have high porosity hair, your hair doesn't have difficulties with getting moisture into the hair. It has difficulties with retaining it. So it looks like your hair dries in very quickly. It looks like your hair is just absorbing water and you don't know where the water has gone. That's how I can describe high porosity hair. That's how I can describe high porosity hair, and it can be quite frustrating because it's like you put a product in and it's gone. You don't know where it is. It's literally gone. And for the babes that have high porosity hair, don't worry, there is literally a solution for you as well. The way I was talking about how the babes with low porosity hair should be deep conditioning more, you should probably be using more protein treatments. Of course, you still have to be very careful because your hair is still um, prone to product protein overload. So using protein treatments every once a month, there is nothing wrong with that. As well as low porosity, you should probably be using deep conditioner like once every 2 weeks or once a month. Anyways, but for protein treatments, the best way to use it is once a month because protein treatments are typically very, very strong. What protein does is because high porosity hair, your hair cuticles are open. They're very open. There's gaps, and that's why moisture can just enter and dip in like 2 seconds. So what protein does, it fills in the gaps temporarily, so it can allow for moisture to actually be retained inside your hair. So of course, you should also still be deep conditioning as well, but make sure you incorporate protein treatments into your hair. Now, you're sort of the opposite of low porosity, where they use heat to open up their cuticles. You most likely use cold therapy to close up your cuticles. And when I talk about cold therapy, I'm talking about washing your hair with cold water. I know some of you guys are gonna bite me, and I'm not talking about ice cold. It doesn't have to be ice cold, guys. But I know some people are gonna bite me. It's gonna be like, oh my gosh, Marvin, I don't like cold water. I know, but stick with me. It doesn't have to be ice cold, just a little bit cold. There's nothing wrong with that. And to wash your hair. Now, when you have high porosity, the products you should be looking into using should be a bit heavier products. Like if you should be using more butters, heavier leave-in conditioners. And you don't have to really work in the product into your hair. It's probably gonna dry quicker if you start doing that. So just put them on and make sure your sealant is thick and heavy so your moisture does not leave. Yeah, I think that's actually something that's very important to know. You have to know your hair porosity. If you're medium porosity, you don't really struggle with these things. But of course, do make sure you do your deep conditionings and do your protein treatments as much as I mean not too frequently because again, balance is key. You can get moisture overload the same way you can get protein overload, and it's not cute. So do be vigilant in making sure that there is a certain balance. So yeah, make sure there's a certain balance and make sure you understand your hair, because knowing your hair porosity can save you so much frustration with your hair. Okay, so yeah, that is it for today. We just covered your scalp environment and how to retain moisture by knowing your hair porosity. So look out for the next episode.